sticking out to me was when you feuded with the Macho Man Randy Savage down in CWA in Memphis, Tennessee. Can you talk a little bit about feuding with Randy Savage?
Well, the funny thing is, the first I heard that I was going to be wrestling with him at all is when Hot Stuff Eddie Gilbert burst into the room and he said, "Do you hear?" He said, "They're going to have you wrestling with Randy Savage." I said, "Oh, yeah." He said, "You need to look out for him." I said, "Why is that?" He said, "Thank goodness," he said, "that you're going to be wrestling with him." He said, "Not me," because I've been doing a program with him. And he said, "It's been like a war every night." He said, "He beats the living crap out of me." He said, he said, "You don't know what the hell he's going to do next." He said, "He's thrown Coca-Cola all over me and all the rest of it. And he spits and all that sort of thing." He said, he said, "I've complained that I don't want to wrestle with him anymore and all that kind of stuff." Anyway, he said, "They're giving me a break and they reckon that, they think that you're probably the only one who can handle it." But when he said that thing about throwing Coca-Cola, I thought to myself, "You do that, you bastard, I'll kill you." So I said, where is he? I went looking for him, and he always used to sort of sit in his own dressing room. I went in there. I said, I've just been told we're going to be doing, we're going to be doing a program together. We're going to be wrestling each other a lot. Yeah, I heard that. Yeah. I said, "Well, let me tell you something, man. I've been told that you're rough and you're tough and all the rest of it." I said, "Good." I said, "The more aggressive you are, the more I like it." I said, "But if you ever throw Coca-Cola or anything like that over me," I said, "I pay a lot of money for my clothes." I said, if you do that and ruin anything," I said, "I'll put pay to your career." I said, "I'll put you pay to your career the same night." And I mean, Randy was a tough guy. I mean, he could look after himself, but quite honestly, he wasn't a wrestler. A lot of people say, "Oh, he was a great wrestler. He was like, oh, he's like one of the greats and all the rest of it." Yeah, he was one of the great names. But you have a look at a lot of these guys who are supposed to be great wrestlers. You have a look at their match and see how many actual holds and things they do. Now, whenever I wrestled with Randy, I would pretend to be absolutely afraid of him. I'd put Linda in harm's way rather than come in contact with him myself. I'd run away from him. And the reason I did that was to make the people think to self like, "Oh, that Randy Savage is really great. Adrian's afraid to come to grips with him and all the rest of it." If I had to come to grips with him and I'd wrestled, then I would have showed him up and I would have killed. Like I was a monster. I was a dragon. He was a baby face. The thing is, if I grabbed hold of him and I'd actually wrestled him, it would have showed just how limited he was as far as wrestling was concerned. And I would have killed his credibility right off the bat. Now, if I killed his credibility, then how good is the contest going to be? It's the same. Whenever I was wrestling as a baby face, I'd always try to make the guy that I was wrestling with look like the biggest, baddest sort of heel that I possibly could, because where would David have been without Goliath? Where would St. George be without a dragon? Where would Winston Churchill have been without Hitler? Where would God be without the devil? If you're going to be a knight in shining armor, you've got to have a giant or a monster or a dragon to slay. You know what I mean? And it works the same way the other way around. If I'd gone in the ring and sort of showed up St. George, if the dragon had gone in there and swallowed him like I could have done if I'd wanted to, then it wouldn't have been very entertaining for the people. You've got to have an adversary,
Absolutely.